Hello there, my name is Wayne. I am the Lone Headbanger. Thank you so much for joining me again this week. I'm going a little bit of a casual one this week. I did have a video planned based on belief and faith, but I've had a bit of a rough week, so I thought I'd do something a little bit more casual. And while racking my brains on trying to come up with something a little bit simpler, I just thought, nobody who watches these videos, or some of the people who watch these videos, don't actually know much about me as a person. So I figured I was well overdue for an introduction. So I figured I'd tell you a little bit about myself, so you know a bit more about what I deal with and what my background is. So as I say, my name's Wayne. I am based in the UK, in a little town called Kings Winford, which is near to Dudley, Stourbridge, Birmingham, basically smack bang in the middle of the country. You can probably tell by the accent if you're a UK resident. I was born around here as well, so I haven't really gone very far. I work in a call centre environment local. Nothing too strenuous or exciting there. So, but I am employed, which is nice. So I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of my childhood and what have you. You know, it's pretty much a usual family fare. You know, mom, dad, two younger brothers, and all the rest of it. But something that I thought was interesting, which I may have mentioned before in my previous videos, but I'm not sure, was my transition from religion into music. As I say, I may have mentioned it previously, but basically I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I've not been baptised as one, but my mum was converted from, she was originally into witchcraft and the occult, and at some point in her life she was visited by a witness, Jehovah's Witness, and was converted and started her path on that religion. Now, I do believe that conversion saved her life, which is why I wanted to do the video on faith and belief. So, as I said, that one will come, and I'll probably mention this again. But so as a result, I was raised on rock music because both mum and dad used to like rock music. So I was raised on Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and what have you. So I was always into rock music from minute one. So even when I was in school, where everyone was listening to chart stuff, I'd still be listening to Sabbath and Deep Purple and Metallica. And I still remember drawing on one of my pencil cases with names of bands, and someone saying, "Why have you got all bands from the 70s on there? Don't you like any modern music?" And it was like, "No." And apparently that wasn't an appropriate response. Who knew? But I still listen to those same bands now, and I bet that person doesn't listen to the same music that they were listening to then, so take that as you will. But yeah, so point being is that I was listening to rock music while simultaneously being raised with this religion. And it came to a point where I had to choose between the two, because obviously if you're going to listen to heavy metal music, it goes against a lot of the Witness values. Now, essentially, Jehovah's Witnesses, what they practice is an extreme form of Christianity. So you can't really combine the two so much. I always think Christian metal bands are a little bit of a contradiction, because metal being, generally speaking, an aggressive form of music, and you shouldn't be feeling that way if you're a true Christian. So I always think it's a little bit of a contradiction, even though a band called Demon Hunter are one of my favourite bands. And I do like their lyrical themes, but I do believe the way they come across is a little bit, I don't know, hypocritical, I think is the word I'm looking for. Regardless, I had to make a choice, and it was The Offspring, the punk band The Offspring, that initially changed my outlook on life, because I heard their song The Meaning of Life as it was on the closing credits to the manga film Tekken, and I listened to the lyrics and I immediately fell in love, and At the time, the internet was non-existent pretty much. But I went to the local record shops to try and find the album with it on, and as luck would have it, the local Woolworths had a copy of Ixnay on the Hombre. And that was the first album I ever bought on CD. I'd already bought Nirvana's Nevermind on tape, which is the first album I ever bought for myself, along with the Verve's Urban Hymns and the Led Zeppelin remasters. But Ixnay was the very first CD I ever bought, and I transferred it onto tape as quickly as I could. And I think I pretty much wore the tape out until I went and bought Smash, I think I followed it up with. And just listening to the lyrics on the songs, it kind of grabbed hold of me more than religion ever had. It's like I'd read the Bible stories and find some kind of connection with some of them, but songs like Leave It Behind, I Choose, Meaning of Life, and the title track on Smash, those kind of songs really spoke to me. I wasn't having a good time at school. I was bullied a lot, which probably explains why I'm a little bit of a mess at the moment. Therapists helping with that, so we're exploring. But I really connected with those lyrics, and I decided that music was going to be my way forward. So naturally, I started buying Kerrang and what have you, and exploring more and more bands. This was around year 2000ish, and I distinctly remember going to my friend's Millennium party in the year 2000, wearing a shirt and nice trousers. I got to his house and I'd only ever seen him in school uniform, and he was there with a mohawk and I think he was wearing a leopard print t-shirt or something, and it looked like a nu metaler, which obviously at the time wasn't even a thing particularly. But I remember listening to the music that they were playing, and I remember distinctly looking at the stack of CDs and picking up Fear Factory's Demanufacture album and looking at the artwork, and I think Obsolete as well. I picked them up and I was looking at the artwork and I was really intrigued. Now, I'd always been taught by my dad, who watched a little bit of MTV, and I was always told that the bands like that, they were just mindless noise and whatever, and it was just a racket. But on that night, I heard songs and I was like, it's not a racket. I get this. This is my thing. This is me. And I started exploring all the different kinds of music. I remember going into Virgin Record, HMV it was, and I went to the metal section and I bought 3 CDs of bands that I'd never even heard of, just to see what they were like. I know they're in the heavy metal section, so I was like, they're bound to be something relatable in there. And the albums were 6 Feet Under. I think the album's called Pure Carnage or something along those lines. I don't own the album anymore. My friend borrowed it and then disappeared off the face of the earth. One was Decapitated, the first Damned, and the other, if I'm remembering correctly, was Character by Dark Tranquillity. And Dark Tranquillity are now one of my favourite bands. I absolutely adore them. So yeah, I kind of explored that, and then I found out that a local venue did a rock night every Wednesday. Started going to that. Found the local metal club in Dudley called JB's, legendary venue as it was, and my life was completely turned around, and as a result the religion went, and I don't think it was a bad thing. I don't look back and regret any of that. So yeah, obviously after I started discovering all the metal scene that was around, the religion, as I said, the religion went. Exploring more and more music came from my little brothers of all people, because the internet was just starting to come into place. We didn't have it at home, but my brother's friends were starting to rip CDs, so then I first heard of Linkin Park and Papa Roach. So obviously when I first started off with the bands I listened to, I was essentially into nu metal, things like Korn, Slipknot, your predictable stuff. But I outgrew them quite quickly. I only bought one album by Papa Roach, one album by Linkin Park. Korn albums, I had a few, but then I just lost interest and I started to get into different stuff. I started to discover bands like Machine Head and, as I say, Fear Factory really influenced my life. But then I discovered melodic death metal, so bands like Soilwork, In Flames, Arch Enemy, those kind of bands, and I really started to get into those and move away from the new metal scene. Bands like Disturbed. I do need to give a shout out at this point as well to a guy called Tommy Vance. He was the DJ on either MTV or VH1, whichever channel it was, and he did the Friday Night Rock show, and he'd spend a couple of hours playing music videos, and from him I discovered a lot of bands. It's where I first heard of Disturbed, it's where I first heard a Megadeth song, which was Go to Hell, and I would stay up and watch this show for a couple of hours on a Friday night, videotape all of it, and discover bands from that. So without Tommy Vance, I probably wouldn't have taken such a big dive into the world of metal, because there was no internet at the time, and that was my big portal into especially some of the classic bands. Like I seem to remember Slayer's Seasons of the Abyss being on there, and I don't really like Slayer, but I like that song, and I remember seeing the video for it on there and thinking it was pretty damn cool. But yeah, my music taste, I will listen to pretty much anything once. I tend to just say that I'm into metal in all its flavours, because I believe that metal has got that many genres and sub-genres involved in it that you can pretty much find something to relate to any mood. Whether you're angry, sad, depressed, happy, you'll always find something to reflect what you want to feel at that point. So metal in all its flavours. But my core thing is metal, so even when I say I'm into industrial metal, I'm into more the metal side than the industrial kind of side. So like bands like Ministry, I'm okay with, but I wouldn't rate them as one of my favourites. Same as symphonic metal, I do like a bit of symphonic metal, but I find bands like Epica and Within Temptation are more the symphonic side, while I prefer the more metal side. So bands like Nightwish, actually, because the guitar work's so heavy and so prominent, I find I enjoy them quite a lot. So I don't have a top 5 favourite bands at all. I've got a few that I like, and they just keep switching around left, right and centre. So first off, I'd have to mention the original Black Sabbath, who I've been a fan of since I can remember hearing music. The Aussie era Black Sabbath this is, though. Metallica, I was pretty much raised on them as well. Only the Black Album, because my dad said that anything before that was just noise. Soilwork are a massive favourite band of mine, melodic death metal band. As I mentioned before, Demon Hunter, the Christian metal band, they have become one of my more recent favourites. Paradise Lost, they've released some absolutely stunning work, and even them on their own, with the variety in the albums that they have released, is staggering. And I can usually, if I need to put anything on, no matter what I'm feeling, I think Paradise Lost can pretty much cover it. But those are just a few. I mean, recently I got into Nevermore as well, who I absolutely love. And those bands, as I say, I can't rank them. They just tend to chop and change. Obviously, Fear Factory as well, I mentioned in Great Abundance. I've always liked the cyber themes of their work. I'd probably place them as my favourite band at the moment, maybe, Fear Factory. It'd be a toss-up between them and Soilwork at the moment. So those are my favourite bands. As I say, I'll listen to most things once. The only things I don't really like are rap. So rap metal, I'm not interested in. I used to have a Limp Bizkit album, and I didn't really give it a lot of listens, and I think I gave it away in the end. And obviously, I'm not big on reggae either, so Skindred, I don't own any of their music. I've heard enough of it. I've seen them live so many times, and they are monstrously skilled at what they do. They are very, very skilled. Their songwriting is top notch. You know, they know how to work a crowd live. You know, they write really addictive and bouncy songs, dare I say, but it's just not for me. I'm not really into the whole reggae flow kind of thing. I mean, you might be able to introduce me to a reggae band that I like, but I won't go looking for it, if you take my meaning. Same as folk metal, I won't really go looking for folk metal bands. It's not, Opeth was close enough for me. Bands like Corpiclani, I'm not really into. So, a little bit about my own musical background with what I've done. So, I bought a guitar when I was about 19-ish, and I learned to play to a degree. My first band, I was in a band called Sideshow, playing bass with an ex of mine, which was kind of sleazy punk kind of stuff. It was kind of cool. After I left Sideshow, I then formed my own band called Forge Chaos, where I was the vocalist. We played a few gigs, released a couple of CDs. Nothing big, obviously, but it was fun, and I was absolutely devastated when it all caved in. Then, around the same time as Forge Chaos collapsed, I started a band with my ex-girlfriend called Winter Storm, because I was obviously doing vocals in Forge, and I wanted a band where I was playing guitar, so we started Winter Storm off, and I was playing 7-string guitar, and that band has released 3 albums. We've played abroad in Belgium, we've played at Bloodstock. We achieved some stuff with Winter Storm, and I'm really pleased. And it did what we set out to do. It's on hiatus at the moment. I'm hoping we don't give it up completely. I'm hoping to come back to it at some point. But right now we're not creating anything new. And then just the last couple of years, me and a friend of mine at work have created a new project called Awaiting Ends, because I wanted to do vocals again. And you can see one of Awaiting Ends' videos on this channel. It's called Type 2, which was the second song I ever wrote in my entire life. It's only a rough demo video, but it kind of gives you a gist of what we sound like. I'm hoping to release more of these videos, and then obviously once this COVID situation is resolved as best it can be, then I'm hoping to get us some gigs and start playing live again, because I do miss being on stage. When I'm in a band, I prefer that element. I'm not so big on the writing and recording, but it's the live element, the being on stage. That's the bit that I crave. So that's a bit of my musical background. As I say, the bands I'm into and all the rest of it. I'll just finish off with a bit of general stuff about me. So, I hate to say it, but I am kind of a big geek. My big love in life is Transformers, as you can probably see by the collection over yonder. Been a fan since I was little. I collect the figures. I find them as useful as a stress relieving mechanism, because I'm intrigued by what they look like and the colours and the workings. But if I'm feeling a little bit tense, I'll pick one off the shelf and just transform it a few times, and it helps me chill out, because I look at the workings and I admire the artwork on it, and it just gives me a focus and a distraction from whatever's aggravating me. So I find they're actually quite therapeutic. So, yeah, I like to read. I'm a big book reader, reading through a book about bad nerves at the moment, as well as a Dean Koontz book called Midnight. So I'll read most things: sci-fi, fantasy, horror. Same as my film tastes, same kind of thing. My 3 top favourite films of all time would be probably the original Star Wars, so Episode 4, The Crow, predictably, and push comes to shove, probably Transformers the movie, the 1986 one. However, I must admit The Exorcist must come close to being in that top three as well, because I absolutely adore the film. The book explained a couple of things that the film didn't, but I really enjoyed The Exorcist, and I do give it a regular watch, and it still scares me even now. Maybe because of the religious upbringing and the connection that's obviously there with it. I am a gamer. I have a PS4. I'm not a PC Master Race guy. I'm a console guy. At the moment, I'm just playing Rocket League and Fortnite. Nothing too strenuous, just something I can just do easily and not get too stressed with. I do play board games as well. Got plenty of those. Just started doing Games Workshop again, which actually has been a massive blessing for several reasons, because painting the models, for a start off, it's a distraction from everything else. I put an album on and just paint for a couple of hours, and then at the end of it I can see what I've achieved. It feels like I've actually done something productive, which is obviously ace. And then working out the army that I'm going to collect, the points values and what have you. That's giving me a bit of a mental workout, trying to make those choices. But then I also get to use my creative side, because while I'm creating an army, I like to create a backstory for it, and name the characters and everything. So I get to express a bit of creativity as well. So it's great on all fronts, even without even playing the game. Just the army creation element of it is such a good thing for me at the moment. It's really been a help as of late. It's not a cheap hobby, but it has been a bit of a lifesaver. I do kind of follow football as well to a point. I do support Everton. Don't know, there's no real reason for it. The family team is Aston Villa, but I took a break from football for a few years, and then when I decided to go back, I fancied supporting someone different, and Everton were just a mid-table team at the time, and I just thought, I like their logo, I'll support Everton, and so there we go. And that's all I've got really to go on about at the moment. I will finish just by going through my mental state at the moment. As I said, it's been a bit of a rough week. I woke up having a panic attack on Monday. No idea why. Don't know what triggered it. Might have been my dreams. But I wasn't in a good frame of mind for the entire day. Yesterday was better, but today I've got an ear infection, and therefore my tolerance has been down and my temper has been up. So that's why I wanted to do something a little bit easier. Hence why I'm wearing an orange sweatband today. I'm not sure if you saw my previous video on the meaning of the sweatbands, but green one means that I'm okay. Orange one means I'm not bad, but I'm struggling a little bit. And red one means I wouldn't ask if I were you. I need space, I need distance, or I need help. But red is definitely a warning. But yeah, we're on orange at the moment, simply because I'm in pain. And that's pretty much all there is to it for the moment. We're plodding on as you do. It's all you can do, isn't it? And do the best you can with each day that life throws at you. So I'm just going to close off by saying the predictable YouTube thing with like, share and subscribe. This channel's already doing better than I thought it would, and I'm so pleased that people are seeming to find some good in it. I'm really happy about that. It's achieved more than I thought it would already, and obviously I do want to continue pushing it, so you will be seeing more and more stuff in the future, for better or for worse. But yeah, just wanted to say really thank you so much for supporting me. If you can share and give this video a like and put a subscribe on it, it would mean the absolute world, and it just gives me that little bit more encouragement to carry on doing what I'm doing. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this one. I'm sorry it's gone on longer than I intended it to, but in closing, it's still a tough world out there. It doesn't seem to be getting much better, and the sun seems to be disappearing as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, it's looking a little sadder than it ought to. But I'm confident that we can get through this. I can get through this. I'm confident you can get through it as well. I will be back next week with another video. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay strong. My name's Wayne. I am the Lone Headbanger, and I'll see you next time.